Hello everyone, this is Dawn and I want to wish each and every one of you a very happy new year. It is January 2nd of 2020. I cannot even believe I am saying that. It sounds so weird. 2020. There was a time in my life where I felt very wistful when a new year ended. Kind of sad even, and then maybe a little bit of the fear of the unknown, going into a new year. In more recent years, I feel like I am much more hopeful about starting a new year, and especially if you've had a couple of tough years. Maybe you're in the middle of something now. Just because the year ended doesn't mean whatever your challenge or challenges are ended. Really the purpose of this video is really for accountability for myself. I thought I would come on and share my Bible reading plan for the year. I don't necessarily want to call it a resolution. I have made resolutions in the past. I crash and burn. Some years I can't even get out of the first week, much less a month. One of the first things to go is generally, a resolution. If you're somebody that can make one and set it and achieve it, go you. Again, this is really what I plan to do. Maybe you have something similar you want to do that is not particularly this, but maybe you want to set a goal for yourself and have an accountability for yourself. So maybe you're not looking to read the Bible in a year. This is a daily reading to read the Bible in a year. I don't know if I will make the goal of a year, but I do want to persevere and not crash and burn. So maybe this particular Bible, maybe you have a Bible that is a daily Bible throughout a year. In this particular one, this is a format where it has a reading from the Old Testament and the New Testament and a small reading from Psalms and Proverbs. So it goes Old Testament, Psalm, Proverb, New Testament, and then it takes you to a devotional and then a prayer. I actually learned about this particular Bible, which unfortunately I do not believe is in print. I don't think it was in print when I first heard about it. I actually found out about this Bible from Corey, the Reset Girl, really a few years ago, probably more than a few years ago. And there was a particular lady who used to do devotionals that had spoke about this. I cannot remember her name. But anyways, this is what I am going to use for myself. Maybe your goal is not to read the Bible in a year, and maybe you just want a specific reading plan. There are, of course, many different reading plans online. Maybe you want to do some scripture writing. There's a wonderful website called Sweet Blessings. I believe it is Shannon's, I guess really a blog, where she'll have topics and then different verses that you can write, and usually it's a verse or a few verses based around a different topic for the month. I have done that in the past. Let me share one other Bible resource with you as well. This is called My Time with God. It is a smaller book, and these are actually the same book. There are different versions of it. Again, this is out of print, but I do know that these are on eBay. I actually looked it up before I came online. I will put the title and potentially a link in the description box below. I'm not affiliated at all, but just wanted to share a couple of resources. So this is actually a Bible. It is a New Century version. It is called My Time with God, and it is the New Testament. It is 15-minute devotions for the entire year. It is the complete New Testament with key Old Testament selections. So maybe you don't want a big of plan as reading the whole Bible in a year, but maybe you want to just read the New Testament. So again, it's called My Time with God. And let's see, I will show you the layout here. It is a reading from, it starts with Matthew. It is a reading from the New Testament. There's a section here for an Old Testament reading, and then it will give what they call an insight or devotional, and then a little topic for reflection. And so each of these 2 pages, I think that is the way the format holds out, is for each day of the year. And again, this is only the New Testament. So there are many, many things you can do to get in the Word on a daily basis. So this is what I'm going to read. Now, it is January 2nd. Today, I started reading January 1. Years ago, I read a Bible verse. No, it was a devotional that has stuck with me throughout the years, and I've never forgotten it. The title of it was called Perseverance, Not Perfection. So that is my goal here. Perseverance, not perfection. Perfectionism can be our worst enemy, I think. And at least it is for me. And then, you can just kind of lose that thread. And then it's a stumbling block. So today I have read the reading for January 1st. And if I can catch up, I will, to get one more day under my belt to get on the particular day. But right now, I have done my first day, and I am on track for me. Perseverance, not perfection. So that is what I plan to read on a daily basis. That is my goal. And then I went to my bookshelf over here, and I found a planner that I'd got on clearance a few years ago, probably more than a few years ago. This is an undated planner. It was a Heidi swap. It is spiral bound, and it's really pretty. I love the florals, of course, and it's metallic. It's got blues and pinks, and it's just pretty. So it was undated, and I just went ahead and wrote in the dates for January. I have went ahead and wrote over here, Every Day with Jesus, the Daily Bible. And then at my church, we do a Bible verse that we read every Sunday together as a church. And then, you memorize it really. But we read it every Sunday at church, a new verse, whatever it is for the year. This year, it is Colossians 1:28. So I went ahead and wrote that up there. Excuse me. So yesterday was January 1st, New Year's Day. Today I marked here that I read in my daily Bible January 1. So I am going to do a progress report and write on here what my reading is. And I'm going to come on the weekends. I don't know if it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but definitely the weekend, and do a progress report of what I have read, and if there's any insights I want to share. I will. Again, this is not me preaching or teaching anything, just simply my progress report and maybe a few things that maybe stuck out to me. I used or took some pens out of a package. I love Inkjoy pens, the Papermate, and I cut out the little Inkjoy there, and on the back of the package it said Spread Joy. So this is the planner that I'm going to use. So here is week 1, Wednesday. Happy New Year was the first. Today was January 2nd, so I wrote what I read. I also read the devotion for today in my Jesus Calling devotional. I've had this for a few years, and I really enjoy this devotional. Do I necessarily agree with everything that's in it? No, every now and again I'll come across something that is pause, that gives me pause, but for the most part, I definitely enjoy this devotional, and I particularly like the verses that there's a particular devotional, and they're pretty small and short, and then there's I think generally about 3 scriptures that it gives, and I like to look those up. So today I read January 2nd. I'll probably go back and read January 1st, but today I just focused on January 2nd, and I also looked up the Bible verses for today. So I wrote just a few thoughts. Of course, the Bible starts out in the beginning, and then as I was reading in the New Testament portion, there was the exile to Babylon, which is about 400 years because it gives the whole genealogy in the first part of Matthew, the genealogy of Jesus. So it talks about there were 14 generations, and then there was the exile to Babylon, which I believe was 400 years, and then it gives the next 14 generations, which all of the begats, the father, the son who fathered their sons, which all the way down to Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, and then it shared Emmanuel, God is with us. So I really just wrote just a couple of thoughts here. Maybe other days I might have more thoughts, but those are just a few things that stuck out to me. Now, while I'm doing my Bible reading, of course, I am doing everything before I am actually sitting down to read my verses in the Bible. My brain goes everywhere. Do you guys do that? I like to use some index cards. So I've got this little box of different index cards. So I grabbed some of those out. It's something I've done for years. If a scripture strikes me, I like to write it on an index card. And goodness knows these index cards can show up anywhere. And then when I was reading the first part of Genesis, my brain kept going all over the place as I'm reading beyond the story of creation. As I'm reading other things, I kept going. Kept trying to remember what was created on each day. So I finally stopped and made myself a note of what was created on each day. Something that always kind of sticks out to me when I read the story of creation is on day 1, God created light. Do you know that he did not create the sun and the moon until day 4? And maybe you did know that, but it's something that always sticks out to me. Anyways, just pointing that out. And then I wrote some verses on a card, especially for today. It's starting the year. It's my first reading, and I think I'm not sure where I read this verse. Open my eyes that I may see wonderful things in your law. Psalm 119:18. It was in one of these books that I have here. And then I wrote down other verses that struck me, and these were from the Jesus is Calling devotional. So this particular one was about Martha and Mary. I am definitely a Martha. But anyways, so the thoughts that I've written on an index card, I'm sitting here at my craft table. So I am going to, I'm going to use a hole punch here, and I am going to go ahead and put these on a ring. And then as I have insights or different scriptures I might want to read, I can refer back to these. They're not necessarily for any memorization, but things that I can go back to and revisit and kind of keep my thoughts together for the month of January, and then maybe I'll start over again for February. So that's something else I thought I might do. Here I just put this card in about the creation. And also too, I was reading in the beginning of, I think it was this Jesus Calling book. There was also a book that it referred to that I might look into at some point. It was a reference that was kind of a reference that she used in writing her devotional, Sarah Young. It was called Praying, or book on praying. The title was Finding Our Way Through Duty to Delight, written by J.I. Packer and Carolyn Nystrom. So I wrote the note of where where I saw that reference to it. So anything you want to write down, something you want to refer to, that's really kind of what I'm doing. So day 1, I'm on track. So that is where I'm at so far. Again, this is something I want to do on a weekly basis. I know this is not the norm, not crafty related. If this is not for you, I completely understand. There are definitely craft videos that will be available, and I've got some crafty aspirations coming up as well. And I know I've been talking a lot. I would like to end this video, which I know is a little bit lengthy. This is a book called Whispers of Hope. This is Beth Moore, which, by the way, I also pulled out a Bible study here. I'm not sure when I will start this or if I will. but I've kind of pulled this aside. I've pulled this aside. I've had this book for a couple of years. Maybe you have a different person that you enjoy. I do enjoy Beth more. Some folks, she might not be their cup of tea. But anyways, this is an excursion towards intimacy with God. So I pulled this out. I might do this at some point as well. But this is a devotional I have. Again, it is Whispers of Hope. And I read this a few years ago, and this devotional has always stuck with me. So if you want to hang on for another minute, I'm going to go ahead and share this devotional. And as a crafter, it's probably something why it stuck with me. So this is day one. Again, this book is Whispers of Hope, 10 weeks of devotional prayer. So this was day one. And of course, it starts out January 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God saw that it was good. Genesis 1:1 and verse 25. And then she's got a particular reading here. But this goes on to say, God recorded his word through the pens of inspired men chiefly for one reason, to tell us about himself. In the first few sweeps of ink, he demonstrated something vastly important among his attributes. He is creative. Scarcely before the ink could dry in the first sentence, God revealed something else. He is orderly. Only God could combine wholly creative and completely orderly. Some of us are refreshingly creative, and others, thankfully, are orderly, but often we can hardly abide one another. If wisdom prevails, however, we eventually discover we need one another, or our different contributions are unbalanced and lacking. God, on the other hand, needed no one to complete him. He created the heavens and earth simply because he wanted to. Afterward, he looked on his perfect blend of creativity and orderliness and said, "This is good." Very good, in fact. God still considers a blend of creativity and order an effective way of working with us. If you are his child, God is working in your life in both creative and orderly ways. And I'm not going to read the rest of this, but I thought that was so wonderful, pointing out God's creativity, because I've really never thought about that attribute of God. It says he desires to be entirely creative with you. Do you allow him the freedom? Here, Peter derived a strange sense of security from sameness. I am someone that is pretty resistant to change. Sometimes I find it quite painful, don't we all, or many of us, getting out of our comfort zone. And then coming down here a little bit more, I highlighted, give God the room to be completely creative. Meet with him daily as he unfolds the plan in perfect order. He is really good at what he does. And then, of course, lift praises to him in an attitude of thanksgiving, praising our God that he is creative and orderly. So I thought this was a really interesting devotional. So my goal, again, is to do daily reading in my particular Bible, and then I want to track my progress and write my notes. Now, there might be some days where it's all I can do is even to get the reading done, where I may not have notes, but I've actually created a place that I can do that. Also, again, I'm going to keep some of my tools nearby. I went and created, because I got up a few times, I had to go grab a highlighter. I had to grab some washi tape because I put my index card in there. I've added some scissors. I am one that will always grab things out of whatever container I can find, so I'm going to try to keep this segregated as well. So anyways, that is my goal for the year. If you want to, as I said, go along and have a particular plan for yourself or a goal and want accountability, you can track your progress as well. So thank you so much for stopping by. I wish each and every one of you a happy new year, and pray for discipline that we need, and that God does his work in our life. Granted, Just because we are reading the Bible doesn't mean our life is ever a bed of roses, but it is our foundation and the best way to handle life. So, all right. So, once again, thank you so much. Happy New Year. And I'll be checking in on the weekends for a progress report once a week in my journey of my goal. All right. Thanks again.